Could I request all our guests to come into the room? We are just about to start. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Could I request you all to please take your seats as we start the event today evening? A very good evening and welcome to this thoughtful event on Innovation and Impact 25 Years of IPE Global. We are really pleased and honored to have you all with us today. Before we start this event, we'd like to have a traditional lighting of the lamp. And for that, could I request our esteemed panelists and Mr. Ashwajit Singh, the founder of IPE Global, to please come over and light the lamp. Let this light represent the energy and spirit of IPE Global, of all our development partners, of all those who want to make a difference, spreading itself in all directions, lighting up not just places, but lives. Thank you so much for lighting the lamp and spreading the light of development all around. Around 8 months ago, India achieved a spectacular feat. It became the first country in the world to launch a probe on the moon, on the southern part of the moon. Chandrayaan-3 was a success, landing on 23rd August 2023. But it didn't happen in a day. In fact, it took exactly about 25 years for that too to happen. India had an initial exploratory program on space, which was quite frugal and also limited. In fact, there were reports of people carrying rocket parts on bicycles and bullock carts because that was what was available at that time. But by 1999, about the time IP Global was set up, there was a greater belief that India can achieve much more. And so it was proposed to have a moon program in 1999. In 2000, a National Lunar Mission Task Force was set up. And in 2003, about the time IP started getting its projects and making its presence felt, the first program was approved, Chandrayaan. In 5 years' time, 2008, around the time IP was also spreading its wings and growing, Chandrayaan-1 was launched. And it was an orbiter. It entered the moon's orbit and orbited successfully. Ambitions grew, just like IP Global's too. We started spreading our wings. We started going outside to other countries. And eventually, in 2019, Chandrayaan-2 was launched. It had an ambitious mission to actually land on the moon. And despite success almost till the last moment, a last-minute glitch saw that not happen. It happens. But then, as we say in IP Global, either you win or you learn. The scientists learned from it and started working again. And in 2023, roughly 25 years after we started this whole mission, India was able to land, becoming the 4th country to soft land on the moon and the 1st country to land on the southern pole of the moon. That is similar to the story of IPE Global. We have also innovated at every stage. We have also been economical at every stage. For example, when the scientists were asked, how much did Chandrayaan-3 cost? They were almost ashamed to say that it cost so less. In fact, statistics say it cost half the price of the interstellar movie that was produced. And that's how IP Global also innovates and efficiently delivers. And of course, like Chandrayaan, shows its impact on the ground. So today is about thinking back, looking back, but also planning ahead. The Indian space research has not stopped after that. They are now banking on Mangalyaan. And so today, while we look back on our journey, we will also plan and recommit ourselves for the future. Because as Bill Anders, the astronaut, said, what can we gain by sailing to the moon if we are not able to cross the abyss that separates us from ourselves? And for that, we have this today evening celebrating IP Global, bringing to you various thoughts, various ideas, and a recommitment to go forward. In order to take this journey forward, I'd like to call upon the person, the founder of IP Global, the person who made this journey possible, an alumnus of the London School of Economics, Harvard Business School, a chartered accountant by qualification, and a person who's made a huge impact in 600 million lives across the world through IP Global. Could you put your hands together to welcome, for the voyage of IP Global, Mr. Ashwajit Singh.
Thank you. Mr. Amitabh Kant, Mr. Purv Chandra, Mr. Kumaran, Ms. Cynthia, Ms. Martina, Veena Reddy, and Mr. C.K. Mishra, and all of you who are here, all the dignitaries, our partners who started as clients but are now friends, and of course, the IP family, without whom none of this would have been possible. A quarter century is a long time in the context of one's work life, but in the context of the world's development, 25 years is just a blink of an eye. Yet, being able to say that we made a blink matter is a unique privilege, and we humbly claim. In 1998, a chartered accountant with a degree from the London School of Economics, heading an investment bank, made a chance visit to Kolkata. It was also a time when the Indian economy was opening up, the private sector was encouraged, foreign investments welcomed, infrastructure prioritized, and public sector geared for reforms. I kept reading about these, but was happy in my own world of finances, working on the next deal, the dynamics of the market. Until a chance visit to Calcutta in October 1998. I'd gone with a friend who was doing some research on slums there. Curious to know what happens in such work, I accompanied him to the outskirts of the city to a slum in Barakpur, which was adjoining a jute factory. I can still vividly recall that scene even today. A narrow bylane of 15 feet paved with bricks, with flex shanties on both sides, leaving just about enough road for us both to walk. I could see kerosene lanterns outside each home. There was one hand pump to service over 1,000 people, and the clogged drain outside the shanty was an attached bathroom. The women carried blackish jute wastewater. Believe me, I can still remember that moment, in leaking barrels, and this was what they drank, bathed in, and cooked in. I was taken aback to see how they lived, several generations stuffed in a 30 square feet of space they called home. I started asking myself many questions. While I read about the disparity of income and plight of those living without basic services, seeing it firsthand had a huge impact on me. I've seen a number of slums and hospitals and district hospitals after that, but this particular slum, somehow maybe the shock value really for me, even today I can remember that. It takes a minute to change your life. I started asking myself questions, and for me, that was the minute. That October evening, my mind went back to my economic classes about breaking the vicious cycle of poverty without making policy changes to help the poor, about sustainable development and improving lives and livelihoods. I asked myself, who answers these questions? Who thinks of their problems? Who finds a solution for them? Why are the results not being seen on the ground? And what about professionals like me? How can I help play a more meaningful role in their lives? And thus was born the vision of IPE Global. To be honest, we were uncertain as we started. There were many big names and experts in the sector. We wondered if we could ever make our presence felt. There was limited local expertise and capacity when we started, and the aid funds were tied with international companies dominating the sector. However, over the last 25 years, what we have learned is sincerity, practical approach, and passion surpasses names, degrees, and resources. We got some early breakthrough for which I want to particularly thank DFID, now FCDO, for its vision of untying aid, developing local capacity, believing and investing in our growth, which has led to us being South's largest development sector consulting firm. We are privileged to be DFID's preferred partner in implementation of some of the large path-making reforms in the space of health, governance, girls' empowerment, urban reforms, and more. In priority states in India, we worked in all the Bimaru states at that time with them. Over time, many other international agencies have and continue to untie their funds and focus on local capacity building. And that is the story of IPE Global. It is our almost childlike junoon of making a difference, of not knowing what cannot be done, our jazba of never giving up, that has made IPE Global a mission with a business rather than just a business with a well-written mission. We often face a challenge trying to explain exactly what we do. And so we have devised a term to define us. We are a think and do tank for the development sector. There are many big firms which specialize in the think part, several field-level NGOs which excel in the do part, but very few who can together synergistically get them together with all stakeholders to make the results happen. That is what makes IP Global different. We at IP believe that a mediocre policy, well implemented, achieves greater results than a brilliant policy poorly implemented. Over the last 25 years, we have expanded horizons to cover almost the entire development field, from sustainable infrastructure, health, nutrition, water sanitation, climate, education, skills development, social and economic empowerment, tourism, monitoring and evaluation, public policy, and grant management. Around a decade after we started, we realized that the India experience in the social sector was very relevant and applicable to other parts of the developing world. We thought of sharing the Indian experience to neighboring regions as well as Africa. It was now time for us to test the South-South collaboration. We set up IP Global Africa with branches in Nairobi and Addis Ababa. In 2014, we went truly global, acquiring Triple Line Consulting, a highly respected consulting firm in the UK. From one small office in Delhi, we now have offices in 20 states and 5 countries, and from an initial team of 4 members, we now have more than 1,200 members, which perhaps makes us the largest development sector consulting organization in South Asia. Over these years, with a highly committed team, we have completed over 1,100 plus projects in more than 100 countries and have impacted more than 600 million lives globally. Shoulder to shoulder, a human chain of our impacted stakeholders would circle the earth almost 3 times. And yet, the feeling that comes to mind is not a sense of achievement or pride, but rather of humility, of gratitude, of being able to be part of making a difference in the world. What differentiates us is that we have matched high-end policy advisory with equally committed ground-level implementation focusing on results. What differentiates us is a culture where we only hire staff with a passion to make a meaningful impact. Our unique work environment nurtures talent, promotes diversity, innovation, and encourages creativity. We are humbled to be certified as a great place to work. What differentiates us is that we are multidisciplinary in our work sectors, which helps us link issues around diverse sectors. We are able to work beyond sector or departmental boundaries. What differentiates us is our multi-geographic presence and diverse client base. We work globally for international agencies like USAID, World Bank, FCDO, ADB, UNICEF, WHO, JICA, CIF, BMGF, MasterCard, as well as national and state governments. We work with a number of departments at the center as well as state, besides think tanks, academic institutions, NGOs, and the private sector. This often allows us to share best practice, knowledge, and facilitate effective coordination and leverage resources. So we have the advantage of being able to, understand various programs going on in the same sector through different donors, and we're able to sort of try and share best practices here. What differentiates us is our hands-on experience of designing and implementing social sector projects which can be replicated in other parts of the developing world, fostering South-South collaboration. The challenges that we have in India are very similar to the challenges in other parts of the world, be it Africa or other developing countries. And India within this sector has achieved far more success than a number of other countries. And I think given the kind of challenges we've got around low capacity, about not very, huge populations, poverty, I think similar challenges can be addressed in other countries by taking the best practice of India there. But what really makes us effective is our system of partnering approach. We've always worked with governments and communities and not just for them. This collaborative spirit is woven into the very aspect of our operations, ensuring that change is not just a project outcome, but every team member's personal mission. We have had the privilege to play an important role in many landmark assignments in line with the Prime Minister's vision. These include supporting the guidelines for the development of the smart cities with the MOUD, supporting the completion of the Mahakal at Ujjain as the PMC for that assignment. We've authored a joint paper on blended finance with the Niti Aayog. Mr. Amitabh Kant, in fact, launched that paper along with Veena. And we also prepared the master plan for the tourism Lakshadweep. You've been hearing about Lakshadweep as the next tourist city. Well, Mr. Amitabh Kant is the one who initiated the master plan for tourism for Niti Aayog, and we were fortunate to get an opportunity to develop that. We've also been working on the health sector reforms in West Bengal, MP, Odisha, and Bihar, thanks to DFID, but we've worked very closely with the state government. We have been supporting the Pulse Polio program and TB programs for UNICEF and WHO for the last so many years, and have been working very closely with under the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and state governments in these programs. We have worked in multiple maternal and child health projects supported by Government of Norway as well as with USAID. And we've worked closely under the guidance here again of the Ministry of Health, Government of India, and the state governments. We've worked on large transformational programs on women and girls empowerment like Manzil, Rajpusht, and Udan, supported by SIF. I'm so delighted to see all of you here today, actually. The very successful, innovative Samrit Blended Finance Facility to fight against COVID, which supported over 80 entrepreneurs. That's another project that we worked with USAID. Another project very close to our heart, which just recently started, in fact, we've had these discussions last 2 days, is a plastic around recyclable waste management, which we are working with USAID called In Replace. All these programs are aligned to the vision of the Prime Minister and are implemented under the guidance of the government. So we work very closely with the government in these programs and with aligned interests, absolutely. The development sector partner actually provides some technical assistance, but the main leadership and ownership is done by the government, both at the center and the state. While the list of projects is endless, no amount of money can give us as much happiness or satisfaction as the smiles on the face of the person whose life has changed due to some of the work we have done. You will be meeting a few of these people after this. I still remember the smile on the faces of the girls that received the OJIP cash transfer scholarship in Bolangir, Odisha, or the delighted father in a hospital near Patna who came up to me looking at the IP Global logo on my ID and said, "Your team here helped establish this neonatal unit. It saved my child." Or the entrepreneurs who have established themselves through our blended finance support in Samrit and contributed to the fight against COVID. Each of them is a real reason why we are here. We may have won many awards for our projects, including the National E-Governance Award, and the first project from India to have won the internationally coveted P3 Impact Award by Concordia, University of Virginia, and State Department of Partnerships, Government of USA. But our real awards are the smiles of people we have impacted. Each such smile is our true treasure, and we have truckloads of them. With our rich experience and India's rising stature, we see the potential to make invaluable contribution in the global scene and further South-South collaboration. What we have achieved is perhaps just a drop in the ocean. There is still a lot of work to be done towards the global development goals. And all of us need to collectively work together to improve the lives of our future generations. We are proud of the legacy of our partnership with the world's most respected agencies, the governments, UN agencies, bilateral and multilateral, philanthropic organizations, and development sector service providers. We are truly grateful for your trust, and I assure you that we remain committed to deliver impact much more than we sign up for. We are always open to learning from our mistakes, your critical suggestions, improving our systems and people. I thank each one of you for being part of the 25 years of making an extraordinary impact. Welcome, Excellency. I thank each one of you for being part of the 25 years of making an extraordinary impact. Thank you for believing in the vision, and for walking this path together. Let us cherish and celebrate the present moment together, and let us commit to work for the future that we envision with hope and enthusiasm. We may have reached the moon, but there are several worlds even beyond the stars that we are just beginning to reach out to them. सितारों के आगे जहां और भी हैं, अभी इश्क के इम्तिहां और भी हैं. तू शाहीन है, परवाज करना है तेरा काम, तेरे सामने आसमान और भी हैं. Thank you so much.
What if we could create a world of possibilities where everyone has a voice, has a story to tell, has a sense of belonging, learns to share? We are driven by a purpose. While we celebrate yesterday, we are committed to transforming lives on the ground with our partners, our communities. Set out to move in the right direction, our visionaries leading the way. Nurturing a global family across continents with Indian roots by connecting information, technology and places. We implement sustainable solutions. A journey of over 2 decades. We are a community of learners focused on empowering people, helping each other unlock potential. Humility guides our every step, genuine care in every project, striving quietly, reaching further, touching the lives of 600 million people, serving over 1,000 projects in more than 100 countries. For in the heart of our endeavors lies a simple truth. Without humanity, progress is empty. With a passion to make a difference, we never shy to try. Driven by our core values of integrity, innovation, passion, perseverance and learning, we move forward with hope and determination to build a better world. Learning with our partners, embracing collaboration, striving for a better future, giving back to the society. Let's come together. Exploring possibilities while expanding horizons, enriching lives.
Thank you so much for the talk, a journey through IPE Global's eyes, as well as the film. It's very inspiring. But there's one challenge on development that's always taking the back seat. Despite a lot of efforts, it doesn't see the light of day. And that's related to gender empowerment. Even in the Chandrayaan mission, although it was an achievement of India as a whole, there were eminently a lot of women that were involved. Specifically, Kalpana, Nandini, Nigar, Madhavi, Atulya, Revathi, Usha, Kalpana. These were some specific names that came up because they're always there, but sometimes not in the forefront. Today, we have a special theme in this event on empowering women, on bridging the gender divide. And to introduce us to this section, I'd like to invite our next speaker, who's a chartered accountant and alumnus of SRCC. She's a director and advisor of IPE Global, leads the corporate communication and quality assurance functions at IPE Global, and promotes a gender-inclusive environment and CSR activities. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ms. Tanya Singh.
"131 years. Yes, that is what is going to take the world to close the gender gap as per the 2023 Global Gender Gap Report. Ladies and gentlemen, empowering women is not just a moral imperative, it is an economic, social, and cultural imperative. When we invest in women, we unlock a reservoir of talent, creativity, resilience that knows no bounds. We paved the way for a world where every individual, regardless of gender, can thrive and contribute meaningfully to society and make progress on Sustainable Development Goal 5. While global progress on Global 5 may be uneven, what is heartening to note is that the past decade has seen a gradual improvement for women and girls. India too is making strides, with a host of government initiatives ranging from the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bandhan Yojana to Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, from Beti Padhao Beti Bachao Yojana to Pradhan Mantri Ujjwal Yojana. India's G20 presidency became a torchbearer of progress on women's empowerment worldwide with a clarion call for women-led development. Focus on access to education, economic empowerment, creation of a level platform for women, India is on a mission to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat, reflected so well in Nari Shakti theme adopted at the 75th India Republic Day Parade. With Indian roots at IPE, we also believe that true progress lies in creating a world where every woman has the opportunity to thrive. From our humble beginnings to our present-day endeavors, we stand committed to creating opportunities, breaking barriers, and amplifying the voice of women across diverse communities. We have over 40% women workforce, and we recognize the importance of fostering an inclusive and supportive environment to drive innovation, excellence, and sustainable growth. It is the unique perspectives, experiences, and insights of our women colleagues that enrich our organization and enable us to adapt effectively to the diverse needs of our partners. Even through our work, we have touched lives of close to 345 million women. But this is not just a mere statistic, because behind every number is a face, a story of dreams, challenges, which we have been privileged to witness and contribute. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each one of our partners who supported us and stood by us in this journey for this noble pursuit. Today, as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of IP Global, we are humbled to present to you Inspired by Women, a collection of 50 empowering narratives from our projects. 50 change makers who are destined to inspire countless more. These narratives illuminate the strength, courage, and tenacity inherent in the human spirit, inspiring women change makers to overcome adversity and thrive against all odds. I now call upon my colleague Niharika, who is here with us, with some of the voices from the book, coming from the farthest, remotest of places. There is a journey of resilience, determination, and unwavering commitment. As we listen to their experiences, we are inspired to continue our efforts in creating inclusive and equitable workplace where everyone has a chance to thrive and succeed. I remember these wise words of Swami Vivekananda. Women power is nothing but an incarnation of Shakti, who is the goddess of power. Once we are bestowed with her blessings, our strengths will increase manifold. So let us resolve to make women equal stakeholders in the decision-making process and economic growth of the nation. I leave with the beautiful thoughts of our Honorable Prime Minister. When women prosper, the world prospers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those beautiful words. And as you've rightly pointed out, at IPE, we not just believe in empowering women at the ground, but taking their women to the skies, taking their dreams to the skies. And ladies and gentlemen, today I have the honor of presenting to you one such woman who represents this indomitable spirit. Please put your hands together for Miss Nick Jasmine, India's first female drone pilot from Arunachal Pradesh.
Just a minute to welcome His Excellency Mr. Eric Grassetti and also Kate Hampton, the CEO of SIF, who's joined us virtually. Welcome all of you once again. Thank you so much. Please.
Nick Jasmine from Arunachal Pradesh is a beautiful story. Today she's here in a traditional attire, but she is India's first female drone pilot. She works with Red Wings Lab, supported by USAID Samrid Blended Finance Facility, where her medicines, where her drones deliver life-saving medicines to the farthest, remotest corners of Northeast India. Thank you so much, Jasmine. आज आप हमारे बीच में आई. क्या आप ऑडियंस को बताना चाहेंगे अपने काम के बारे में, अपने बारे में?
थैंक यू. मेरा नाम निक जैस्मिन है और मैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट अरुणाचल प्रदेश से हूँ और मैं ड्रोन ऑपरेटर हूँ रेड विंग लैब्स के अंदर और आई एम ऑल्सो एडवांस लेवल सोलो पैराग्लाइडिंग पायलट.
Very nice.
थैंक यू.
Very nice.
थैंक यू.
तो निक, आपने, I have heard कि आपने कम से कम 80 flights लिए हैं last year. Am I right?
Yes.
So what is it that you find the most? मतलब अपने job के बारे में आपको सबसे अच्छी चीज़ क्या लगती है?
सबसे अच्छी चीज़ ये कि मेडिसिन बाय एयर में डिलीवर करती हूँ, जबकि बाय रोड इट्स टेक 10 to 12 hours, तो बाय एयर इट्स ओनली टेक 15 to 20 minutes. तो उसके लिए I feel really proud. Thank
We
you.
are also very proud of you, and we are equally proud of the fact that now Jasmine is going to teach the young people of Arunachal Pradesh how to operate drones so that she can take drones to different walks of life. She is the true representation of our Prime Minister's vision of empowering women through technology and transforming the technology landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Nick Jasmine. And as we speak of technology, you know, women are taking the forefront in every aspect of life. So now let's pivot into another domain of service. And with that, I'd like to call upon stage Asha ji. She is, Krishna ji. She is an Asha worker from Kota, Rajasthan. Her training, she has been trained in home-based care for young children under the Norway-India Partnership Program, under the aegis and guidance of the Government of Rajasthan and the Central Ministry of Family Welfare, Health and Family Welfare. Thank you so much, Krishna ji. आज आप आए, आप अपने यूनिफॉर्म में आए हैं. Thank you so much. तो क्या आप हमको ये बताना चाहेंगे कि निपी द्वारा आपको जो ट्रेनिंग मिली है उससे आपके काम में क्या बदलाव आया है और आपने अपने समाज में क्या परिवर्तन देखा है?
निपी से मेरे को बहुत सी ऐसी जानकारी मिली है जो मैंने फील्ड वर्क बताया है. छोटे बच्चे नवजात से लेकर 15 माह तक के बच्चों की विजिट करती हूँ मैं घर घर जाके, और निपी से मुझे उसे वो भी मिला है. और
तो
बच्चों को कुपोषण से मुक्ति मिली है, क्योंकि आयरन हम जो बच्चों को पिलाते हैं 6 माह से और 59 माह तक, उसके अलावा 5 वर्ष से 10 वर्ष तक जो आयरन टेबलेट देते तो कुपोषण से बच्चों को मुक्ति मिली है, और टीकाकरण में भी हमें बहुत सहायता मिली।
तो आप तो मतलब घर घर जाके कोविड में आप जाते थे, और मैंने सुमित्रा जी बता रहे थे कि आपको डिस्ट्रिक्ट में बेस्ट आशा का अवार्ड भी मिला है।
हाँ मैडम।
तो घर घर आप जाते हैं और लास्ट ईयर आपने 300 से भी ज़्यादा ANC कराए हैं। आसान तो नहीं होगा, तो आप तो मोटिवेट कर रहे थे, पर आपको कौन मोटिवेट कर रहा था, ये आप बताएंगे लोगों को?
मेरे इस काम के पीछे मेरे माता और पिता का बहुत वो है, उन्हीं की वजह से आज मैं इस जगह पे पहुंची हूँ। आज वो नहीं होता तो मैं यहाँ तक नहीं पहुँच पाती।
उनकी तरह हमको भी आप पे बहुत 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 ज़्यादा गर्व है, बहुत ज़्यादा गर्व है। और कोई एक संदेश जो आप भारत की महिलाओं तक पहुंचाना चाहें?
मैं यही चाहती हूँ कि जिस तरह से मैं यहाँ आई हूँ, ऐसी तरह से सभी महिलाएं आत्मनिर्भर बने और यहाँ तक पहुँचे। और थैंक यू निप्पी राजस्थान सरकार की तरफ से मेरा बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सो मच, आप आए। Ladies and gentlemen, a resounding round of applause for the free spirit and courage shown by Kiran ji and Sumitra ji.
हर कोशिश में हो बार बार करे दरियाओं को आर पार आशाएं।
कई साल पहले एक ज्योतिषी ने मुझे बताया कि जल्द ही मुझे मिलेगा एक अनोखा खजाना। हर काम होगा सफल, हर ख्वाब होगा पूरा। पर जब तू पैदा हुई थी, विश्वास उठ गया था मेरा। समाज ने कहा कि और बिगड़ेगी हमारी स्थिति। लड़कियां बोझ होती हैं, एक जिम्मेदारी। पर तू तो एक परिंदा निकली, खुले आसमान की प्यासी। तूने हिम्मत दिखाई, अपनी दिशा खुद बनाई। सीमाएं तोड़कर खुद का एक नया रास्ता बनाया। शादी के बंधन में बांधना था तुझे, पर प्यार तू कर बैठी अपने मंजिल से। आंखों में काजल नहीं, सपने भरे थे तूने। हाथों में मेहंदी नहीं, अपना नसीब रचाया था तूने। लेकिन अब एहसास हुआ कि सपने सिर्फ तुम्हारे नहीं थे। ये मंजिल सिर्फ तुम्हारी नहीं थी, हम सब की थी। अपने कंधों पे रख के तूने हमें दुनिया दिखाई। एक बेहतर जिंदगी कैसे जीते हैं तूने हमें समझाया। अपने पंख फैलाकर निकल पड़ी हो तुम। हर लड़की के हौसले को बुलंद करती हो तुम। केजरी की जड़ों जैसे हम सबको मजबूत करती हो तुम बोझ नहीं हो, पराया धन नहीं, तुम हम सब का धन हो। ज्योतिषी ने ठीक कहा था, एक खजाना मिलेगा मुझे। वो खजाना तुम ही तो हो। हजारों ख्वाब, एक मंजिल।
Is not just a destination on a map. It is rather this journey that women take towards their dreams. Today I have the privilege of introducing to you Rashmi. She is not just the protagonist of the movie that you just saw, but she is the main character of her life and that of her family. Rashmi is the 4,592nd girl to be placed by Project Manzil, implemented by the government of Rajasthan with the support from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation. Through Project Manzil and through community motivators like Kantadi, who is here with us, Project Manzil has transformed the lives of more than 10,000 women towards economic independence and self-reliance. Today, Rashmi has not just dared to dream for herself, but along the way she has empowered her entire community, her entire family, including her younger sister Poonam, who is with here. तो रश्मि, ये बताओ, काम तो तुम अच्छा करती हो बहुत महात्मा गांधी हॉस्पिटल में. आज अपनी मूवी को देखकर कैसा लगा तुमको?
वैसे तो मैंने कभी थिएटर में मूवी नहीं देखी, लेकिन फर्स्ट बार जब मैंने अपनी मूवी थिएटर में देखी तो मुझे सच में अपने आप पर बहुत गर्व हुआ और बहुत अच्छा लगा.
और हम सब सॉरी हम सब आप पे बहुत प्राउड हैं, बहुत गर्व है. और मेरा बहुत अच्छा आपने ये पहना है. मेरा फेवरेट सीन मूवी का ये है जब आपके पापा आपके ऊपर पगड़ी डालते हैं, आप अपने घर की करता रहते हैं. तो जब आप शूटिंग कर रही थी और ये सीन आपने शूट किया, तब आपको कैसा महसूस हुआ?
वैसे तो पापा डरते थे कि पता नहीं क्या करेगी, कहाँ जाएगी, कैसे रहेगी, किसके साथ रहेगी, क्या करेगी, अकेले मतलब कहाँ. लेकिन जब पापा ने मेरे ऊपर पगड़ी डाली सिर पे तो मुझे अपने आप पर बहुत गर्व हुआ और पापा को भी लगने लगा कि हमारी बेटी कर सकती है, आगे बढ़ सकती है. तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा.
और अच्छा लग रहा है ना यहाँ पे आके?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है.
तो ये जो सफ़र है आसान तो रहा नहीं होगा जैसे तुम बोल रही हो. तो इस सफ़र में आपका साथ सबसे ज़्यादा किसने आपको मोटिवेट किया, प्रोत्साहित किया?
वैसे तो माता पिता का हाथ होता है, लेकिन मेरे साथ कांता मैडम का हाथ था मेरे ऊपर. इन्होंने ही मुझे अपनी मंजिल तक पहुंचाया, अच्छा रास्ता बताया, कैसे क्या करना है, आगे बढ़ने का रास्ता
तो
बताया.
कांता दीदी आपके लाइफ के मेन कैरेक्टर
हाँ,
जैसे
मेन कैरेक्टर मेरे लिए कांता मैम ही है. और मैं चाहती हूँ जैसे मेरे को कांता मैम ने सपोर्ट किया, मंजिल ने सपोर्ट किया, वैसे ही पूरे राजस्थान को और भी लोगों को इनका सपोर्ट मिले.
तो कांता दीदी आप तो मेन कैरेक्टर हो इनके लाइफ के, कुछ आप भी बोल दीजिए.
मैम मैं और कुछ नहीं बोलना चाहूँगी, बस इतना ही कहना चाहूँगी कि हमने ओनली इनको रास्ता दिखाया था, मेहनत इन्होंने की, आज स्टेज पे आने का सारा कार्य इनका है. हमने इनकी तरह ही हजारों लड़कियों को और रास्ता दिखाया है,
बहुत
वो भी आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश कर रही है.
एंड टुडे दे आर नॉट जस्ट लीडिंग देयर ओन लाइव्स, they are training to become nurses, they are inspiring so many women in their own communities. A big round of applause for the indomitable spirit of all these girls and women like Rashmi, Poonam, Kanta Di, Sumitra Di, Mamta and Jasmine Naik. A huge round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the entire section about women empowerment, about bridging the gender divide. It is truly said, I mean, Margaret Mead, the anthropologist, was once asked by a student, what is the sign of the civilization, of the civilization of a culture? The student expected her to talk about agriculture, about fish hooks, about mud pots, but instead she said, the sign of a civilized culture, the earliest sign is a healed femur bone, a thigh bone. The student wondered why. She said in the animal kingdom, if an animal breaks the femur, it dies. It cannot run anywhere from enemies. It cannot go out and get any food or water. And no animal survives long enough for the femur bone to heal. The first sign of humanity, the first sign of civilization was when the first human femur was healed. It showed that someone took care of them. It showed that someone bandaged them. It showed that someone took them to safety, tended to them, and helped them stand on their feet again. That has been the story and the privilege and the honor that IP Global and all our partners have been really, really fortunate to be part of. To take this program further, we move into our next section, which is a fireside chat. We will talk about India for the world, promoting South-South collaboration. And for this, we have a range of eminent panelists coming up. I will invite them first, and then we will have a small book release as well. So could I request all the panelists, I'll be calling them out one by one, but first of all, we'd like to welcome a person who is the G20 Sherpa for India, a person who was leading the Niti Aayog as well as the DIPP in his stewardship. There was a lot of reforms in the industrial promotion aspects of India. And he's driven key reforms like Startup India, Make in India, Aspirational Districts Program, etc., and repositioned India in many aspects. He's an alumnus of St. Stephen's College, JNU, Harvard Kennedy School, and IIM Ahmedabad. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Amitabh Kant to the dais, please. We are also privileged to have with us here a very eminent public officer from the United States, a person who's been the mayor of Los Angeles for 2 terms, and in fact been voted as the public official of the year. He's led the city through COVID times, and he is now the 26th US ambassador to India, former Los Angeles mayor, and he won the 2028 Olympics bid for LA. He's chaired the C40 Cities Climate Network and delivered Race to Zero pledges, alumni of Columbia and Oxford Universities, and an LSE alumnus. Please welcome His Excellency Eric Garcetti. Okay. He's taken cricket to LA, as well as he's knowledgeable about Hindi as well. So thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you. I'd like to also welcome and acknowledge Ms. Kate Hampton, the CEO of SIF. She's also with us here virtually. She is the CEO of SIF since 2016, a board member of We Protect, chairs the European Climate Foundation, has advisory roles with ORF India, China Council, and the COP28 Committee, awarded the OBE for climate change efforts, featured in Paris Agreement profiles, and an LSE and Harvard Kennedy School alumna. Please welcome virtually Ms. Kate Hampton. I'd like to also welcome onto the dais a person who's leading UNICEF's role in India. She is looking after the 13 offices and some of the biggest programs since October 2022. She's former UNICEF rep in China and has leadership roles in the New York office of UNICEF. Earlier worked at the IRC, World Bank, USAID, and was White House Fellow, a Vanderbilt undergrad, Masters from UT Austin LBJ School. Please welcome Ms. Cynthia McCaffrey. Up next is again a senior official from the Government of India. He's a senior IAS officer of the 1988 batch, and he has been leading the health ministry from January 2024. He spearheaded key policies in this department, in this ministry, as well as earlier with the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. He's an alumnus of IIT Delhi. Please put your hands together for Mr. Apurva Chandra. We're also privileged to have with us a Minister Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission at the Norwegian Embassy in New Delhi, extensive experience at Norwegian Foreign Ministry, worked in the legal as well as multilateral affairs, Deputy Director in the UN section, and a lawyer from the University of Oslo, from King's College London, and Aix-Marseille University. Please put your hands together for Ms. Martine Amdahl-Bothien. We also have with us another special secretary, a senior IFS officer from the 1992 batch, who served as ambassador of India to Qatar and High Commissioner to Singapore. He is currently the special secretary of the Development Partnership Administration in the Ministry of External Affairs. He's the BTech in Electronics and Communication from IIT Madras. Please welcome Mr. P. Kumaran onto the dais. And to take this discussion forward as moderator for this session, we will be having a very, very senior IS officer who served as secretary in ministries at the national level in the Ministries of Environment and Health. He's led India's efforts in addressing climate change and pollution. He's played a key role in improving public health landscape in India and an advisor to global organizations on health, climate change and implementation, and also proudly a director of IPE Global. Please welcome Mr. C.K. Mishra. Before we move into the fireside chat, we have a pleasant task to do, and that is to release a commemorative issue on the occasion of IP's 25th anniversary. We have this publication called Inspired by Women, because that's what IP Global is, inspired by those whom we can do a small bit to improve. And it documents the story of about 50 lives, 50 people, as I think Ms. Tanya Singh was saying. Each number has got a face and a story behind it. It documents 50 such stories, some of which you see on the 2 years of the panel here as well. And I'd like to request Ms. Tanya Singh and Mr. Ashwajit Singh to please come up and help us to release this book along with all the distinguished panelists over here. Thank you so much, everyone. It's not just about those 50 people who've been profiled. They are symbols, they are messengers, they are champions who can inspire others, and that's the reason we've called some of them here, which you just heard, to honor them. These 3 people whom you just heard are also featured in this book, and we thought getting them here will also give a personal touch to what has been achieved. That is the impact that IP Global and all of us are trying to make. This book has been forwarded by several people, including Mr. Amitabh Kant. We are so thankful to him for sharing and giving a forward to this book. It is also given a forward by Her Excellency May Ellen Steiner, the Ambassador of Norway to India, as well as by Gauri Khan, the Indian film producer and entrepreneur. In fact, she had a copy delivered to her, and that's a photograph of hers with the book as well. So this book is all about bringing the stories of success, bringing the stories of champions forward, and inspiring many, many more. So with that, I'll hand it over to our moderator, Mr. C.K. Mishra. Sir.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you IP Global and all the rest for having us over. I've been asked to moderate this session. Just look at the people sitting to my left. Who do I moderate and how do I do that? So I'll have a speaker's day out and just sit back quietly and keep pointing at a few things, the most important of which may perhaps be time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate success, and I'll not talk about IP Global because Tanya, Ashwajit, Abdul, and all the participants have done that job and made it very easy for me. Having observed IP Global for close to more than a decade now, I would like to say only 3 things. One, they know how to do things differently. 2, the impact that they have created on human lives is phenomenal. And 3, unlike many other organizations which stand out and do work outside, they have decided to be part of the government program and value add what government is doing. So having said that, now I need to get back to the distinguished panel. India for the World, enabling South-South cooperation. So we have with us eminent speakers, so we'll do it in 2 ways. You know, this is IPL season. So you must have 2 very solid opening batsmen. We have them today with us. I will request our opening batsman to give what is generally called the opening remark. And then we will have questions, very quick questions, 2 of them perhaps to everyone, quick answers, maybe 2 to 3 minutes each. So we'll get into that later. But to begin the proceedings, let me invite His Excellency Ambassador Grassetti to start the proceedings. And I'm sure while he is with us and gives his opening remarks, he will also touch upon the issue that while India aspires and plans to reach its success stories to countries which are similarly challenged, how would US hold hand and help do that? Please, Ambassador Grassetti, all yours.
Well, namaskar and good evening to everyone, and what a joy it is to be here, not only on this stage with both this incredible panel, Kate, who's I know in London virtually, but would that I were not a speaker but a mirror, so you could see yourselves right now, because really we have the most beautiful view, I think, of this ballroom, of the passion, of the belief, of the purpose, of the peace that you live in the work that is done by IPE, and the collaboration between so many of us that are lucky to call India our home for a period of our lives. I often say, if you want to see the future, come to India. If you want to feel the future, come to India. And if you want to work on the future, come to India. And I have the great privilege of being able to do that every single day as a leader of the United States mission. I would have come just for IPE, but whenever you have Amitabh Kant here, my dear friend, I will come to speak at a bar with him if you invite me. I will go to a jazz concert with him. He's not only a great force for good in India, but as we saw in the G20, the most successful ever under his leadership. He is a force for good in the world as well. So thank you, Amitabh, as well to my fellow panelists. And I also know that getting an ex-politician up here means like long speeches, but I learned early on in my political career that short speeches win elections. So let me be brief, even though I'm not running for anything anymore, thank God. I hear there's a couple elections in our countries this year, but... You know, when I was studying Hindi as an 18-year-old, I learned a saying, alag desh, alag rivaj. It was kind of another country, another custom. And the saying, we have this in many languages, is, you know, do in Rome as the Romans do. In other words, every place is different, and those customs are unique. And while that is true, certainly the customs of America are different than those of India. Even within our countries, the custom from one town or city to the next is different, one state to the next is different. I think increasingly the work that we are doing here, that we are privileged to do as the American Mission, and I want to thank Veena Reddy, who heads up our USAID office in the region, we now feel more that it is do desh and there is ek dil, one heart. That when we come together, it is no longer 2 different systems, but one vision. And those of us who are ballroom regulars don't usually get to come to a hotel ballroom anymore these days and be as moved as we were seeing these women come up here today. And I want to thank you too for being an organization, and let me say this as a man, not just putting the burden on my sisters, that you have here a panel, certainly when the 2 of us get off the stage, that is gender balanced. In fact, we have a new policy, this is for all the Indian groups out there that are inviting us to come, that if you have a full male panel, some people call them a manel, we won't come and participate. In other words, we want to make sure that whenever we sponsor something and participate in something, we don't just give lip service to the idea of gender equity, but we try to embody that. And IPE has done that so beautifully here today and stirred my heart in looking at the stories of the women that we are privileged to work with alongside you and the government of India to further health, equality, to further the idea that economic opportunity shouldn't be defined by your gender or your geography or the wealth of your parents, but by the dreams in your heart. Last thing I'll say, because instead of going through all the programs that we have together, and we often talk about the 4 Ps, that peace, prosperity, our planet, and our people define the work of the United States mission here, together with our partners across the globe, with fellow diplomats and missions that are here, and of course led by the Indian government. We don't come here to teach and preach, we come here to listen and to learn, and when asked to have the privilege to work alongside you. Whether it's in the digital domain, whether it's in the climate action that we take. We know that the work we have is urgent, and the success of it has to run through every girl and woman in this country and around the world, in every marginalized community. And I'll end with a poem that I love by Robert Browning. And there's a line in it. It's about an Italian artist named Andrea del Sarto. It says, "Our reach must always exceed our grasp." In other words, we reach for things we cannot hold. Think about the Indian independence fighter who fought for the freedom of his country but died before he tasted one day of freedom. In our own country, women who said women should be able to vote and fought for that and started a movement, but never got to exercise their ability to vote in a single election, but today their great-granddaughter can. We reach for things we don't think we can hold, because the second line of the poem says, "After all, what is a heaven for?" And I would offer, after all, what is IPE here for? What is the US mission here for? What else is the Indian government, Norwegian government, UNICEF? What are our funders like SIF and Gates and so many others here for, if not to make sure we reach beyond our grasp and just maybe be the generation that can hold those ideals that we thought were beyond our reach, but that we all can clutch and hold together in our single heart. Thank you so much for the privilege of addressing you. And one last thing, I'm going to listen to Amitabh, but I believe so much in girls' empowerment that I promised my daughter I'd be home to help her with homework about 20 minutes ago. So after he speaks, you'll have to indulge me as I leave a little early. But thank you so much. Congratulations, IPE, for your extraordinary work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that brilliant piece. No elections to be won, though. But let me now invite our next speaker for his opening remarks, Mr. Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa, and many more things to most of us.
Ashwajit, Tanya, who's been the inspiration behind Ashwajit, Eric, who's easily the most popular ambassador USA has ever had. The only other great ambassador I recall is J.K. Galbraith. And all the distinguished panelists here. Ladies and gentlemen, in my long innings in government, I've had the pleasure of working with all the top consulting agencies across the world. And I must say that IP Global is really top class. It's top class because it works with a tremendous amount of passion. It works with a tremendous amount of energy and dynamism. And it works across a range of sectors where you make a difference to human lives. It's worked with me on learning outcomes, on improving health outcomes, on nutrition, they've worked with me on improving, doing the holistic development of islands in India. And every time, I can tell you that they surpass any other consulting agency because they actually believe in delivering on ground. So all credit to Ashwajit and his team. His team is really, really, truly brilliant and outstanding. And much of that credit is because Ashwajit was my junior in school. It's just that he went to the wrong college. But I'm truly delighted that your focus is on South-South, because when India did the G20 presidency, we faced several challenges. There was a challenge of slowdown of global growth. There was a challenge of the Sustainable Development Goals, instead of progressing, having regressed. There was a massive challenge of climate action and climate finance. We're facing huge challenge of Earth surviving, but all of us not surviving at all because of fire, floods, famines, and the temperatures rising. And we faced huge challenge of inequity in the world. But India's presidency was very focused on the global south. It was focused on the global south because, according to IMF, 70% of the growth today is coming from the global south. And the next 2 decades, almost 2/3 of the global growth is going to come from global south. And that's for one simple reason. That is, the demographics are in favor of the global south. The countries of the global south are going to see a very young population with very low dependency burden, whereas the rest of the world is going to be aging. And therefore, we focused on being the voice of the global south. And the Prime Minister, as the leader of the G20, actually had the first interaction with all the global south countries. We shaped our priorities according to the global south, and we worked around to achieve consensus on the global south. And we made our presidency very ambitious, inclusive, very decisive and action-oriented. And we worked towards making African Union a very integral part of G20. And India actually made the G20 as G21. And by doing so, it demonstrated that G20 will actually cover almost 85% of the global population. It'll cover almost close to about 80% of the global GDP and almost about 75% of the global trade. And therefore, it made G20 very inclusive, but it made G20 the most prominent multilateral body in the world. Now, multilateralism works with consensus, and the challenge for us was to arrive at consensus on a range of issues of bold, sustainable growth, of accelerating the pace of SDGs, of reforming the multilateral institutions which were designed in the post-Bretton Woods period for another world and are not designed for the global south. For the challenge was to bring in green development center stage, and more than anything else, one single area which was critical was to use how do we use technology and use the power of digital public infrastructure to accelerate the pace of growth in the global south and to transform the lives of human lives in the global south. The challenge for us was that 4 billion people do not have a digital identity in the global south. 2 billion people do not even have a bank account. And 133 countries of the world today do not have a digital public infrastructure. But we were able to bring consensus on all these issues, but the most critical of which was to bring consensus on women-led development. And we had huge challenges on all this because our belief was that if half the world comprises of women, you can't make the world grow without women and putting them into leadership position. We had several challenges during G20, but one country which stood with us was the United States of America. All through our G20, United States of America always said that India must succeed in bringing consensus on a range of challenges that we were confronted with. Not merely these challenges, but the challenge of geopolitical crisis of the Russia-Ukraine. And we were able to bring leadership and bring consensus on many of these issues thanks to the United States of America. So ladies and gentlemen, I truly want to take this occasion to compliment IP Global. I want to compliment IP Global for bringing women-led development center stage, and I want to congratulate IP Global for bringing Global South. That is where the future is. If you are able to transform lives of citizens in the global south, you'll be transforming the world, you'll be accelerating the pace of growth, you'll be bringing equity into global development, and you'll be actually making a difference to citizens of the world. So congratulations IP Global, and congratulations to Ashwajit, Tanya, and the entire team for doing such a remarkable work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I'll just hold you for one more minute. I always had this doubt, and who better than Mr. Amitav Kant to clarify this doubt? G20 was a great success. Congratulations for that. One of the main things that India was willing to do is offer its innovations, its technologies to the global south. This is something that's known. What's not known is what was the receptivity. And if I put the question on its head, while we had our successes, we also have our challenges. Yeah. So do we have a plan to really learn from the global south on challenges?
Yeah. So, you know, the global south is confronted with several challenges, and I think the key of them is really to improve learning outcomes and health outcomes, and to really transform lives of women and therefore improve nutritional standards. That, to my mind, is critical. But throughout all these challenges and the cascading crisis during the COVID period, one thing which has stood out across was the use of digital public infrastructure and our ability to able to provide COVID vaccination using digital public infrastructure. Or, Eric, you need to go because you need to make sure that you take your class back home. Yeah, please. But one thing, throughout these multi-layered crises, one thing which stood out was the digital public infrastructure. Now, if you look at the last 2.5 decades, all the transformation, all innovation, all technology in the world has come in the western part of the world because of Meta, because of Apple, because of Google, because of Amazon, and in China because of Tencent and Alibaba. What India demonstrated was that you could actually create a layer of public interest, allow the private sector to compete on top of that, and keep technology open source, open API, and globally interoperable. That was the difference. And our belief is that this is the way for the future, because we were able to open, during the COVID period, 550 million bank accounts. Every second bank account was opened in India. We were able to link them with the digital ID as well as the mobile number, and we were able to put money into the bank account of 800 million Indians without a single paisa of leakage. Well, not a single paisa of leakage. This has not happened anywhere in the world. We were able to put money into 110 million women's bank accounts without a single paisa of leakage. And today, we do 128 billion transactions in the world, which is 46% of the real-time transactions in the world. China is next with 26 billion. The difference is 128 billion and 26 billion. That is what digital public infrastructure can do to transform lives. I mean, when you have digital public infrastructure like Swayam, Diksha, etc., and you are able to actually improve learning outcomes, do a massive difference in terms of transforming lives of citizens. And that is what India will provide to the rest of the world. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. And the reason why I requested you to sit here is that whenever I am confused in future, I'll turn to you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very conscious of the time, and we have CEO SIF, Kate Hampton, with us. Virtually, she is present with us. Welcome to this discussion, Kate. And I am very sure that you would have heard Mr. Amitav Kant say that we put money into accounts of millions of women. India has done remarkably well through its innovation in the women-led development programs. I mean, you take any of them, whether it is cash transfer, whether it is the livelihood mission, entrepreneurship, skilling, everywhere. And SIF very often has been a partner in this exercise that we've been carrying out. Do you really see the other countries benefiting from this kind of innovation in India? And what role do you see SIF really playing in breaking the South-South cooperation barriers, as it were?
Thank you, CK, and that's a really great question, and super to see so many of you here, and I'm really honored to be here. And I'm a bit of an imposter because it really is my team in India that does the extraordinary work every day. Manjula, I think, is in the room, and with our great partners like IPE, and as you saw from Project Manzil, in partnership with the government of Rajasthan in this instance, the communities in India are really the ones that are doing the work. But in terms of South-South collaboration, I mean, the work that India did in the G20, as Amitabh was saying, was really extraordinary, both in terms of, getting the AU on board, but also the transformation of the multilateral development institutions, the commitment to tripling renewables. There were so many things, the global digital health platform. There were so many things that India did that really set the agenda, that set a level of ambition that really was transformative at a time when the geopolitics were difficult and everyone said that the G20 was going to be a bust. India really just proved how much tenacious leadership and vision can deliver. And to your specific question on South-South collaboration, increasingly this is what philanthropy can be supportive of. In many ways, I like to refer to philanthropy as scaffolding. We don't do the building. That is done by communities, it's done by governments. But what we enable those partners to do is take risks, take long-term strategic bets that may need our particular kind of flexible capital, our global networks, and our ability to network to deliver. And we've done a lot of work supporting South-South collaboration. In fact, increasingly, we're seeing the decline of the aid paradigm, which came with very old-fashioned views that innovation, technology, and resources flow north to south. We're seeing a lot of that change and reverse. And just to give you some examples, I mean, we've been working very closely with the government of UAE. I was advising them on the COP presidency. They put front and center work with developing countries to provide greater access to green transition. UAE partnering very strongly with the G20 in India to deliver a transformative agenda around this idea of tripling renewables and doubling energy efficiency. India has made so much progress, but so many countries took that on, and with the support and some of the resourcing from countries like UAE, we're now seeing a lot of that agenda move across Africa. Some of that was picked up at the Africa Climate Summit, for example, that was chaired by President Ruto of Kenya, also a big friend of India's. And we're starting to see these vectors of South-South collaboration, and what philanthropy can do is provide the scaffolding around those. And by scaffolding, I mean we can connect communities of practice in different countries. We can support governments with blended finance solutions. We can provide the evidence base, and we can support those initiatives. I mean, the Global Initiative on Digital Health is another great example. And Amitabh was speaking to this so eloquently. It really is extraordinary what India was able to do during COVID, but bringing together the digital and the health expertise is really key. We're involved in a number of countries, Ethiopia, for example, where they're just starting to digitize their health system. And so there is a huge amount of appetite, but there may not be necessarily the resources available or the expertise available in country to even know where to start on building the terms of reference and then scaling projects up across the world. So things like the Global Initiative on Digital Health, partnering with the World Health Organization and a number of other governments, donors and philanthropies like ours, will bring together what was a very messy and disparate space where lots of people were kind of doing their own thing. The Indian presidency has brought that all together and organized it, and philanthropy is coming in, and many of our philanthropic partners like Gates Foundation and others are coming in to support that initiative, and we will all work with different countries and bring our different skill sets to bear. So I really do think that there's a vast amount of opportunity now in the climate space. India, we've seen with the International Solar Alliance and the Center for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, southern institutions directly providing more and more of that South-South collaboration, and we're really happy to support all of those. But I think it's true that for many countries, having support to go on the journey to absorb the kinds of innovations that are coming from India, which require a level of digital development alongside, really deep government capacity, but also, I mean, India has a much bigger balance sheet than many of the other countries that we're talking about, particularly in the midst of a debt crisis where 3 billion people are living in countries that are spending more on debt servicing than on health or education. In the midst of this fiscal difficulty, we need to ensure that international financial institutions, philanthropy and others are coming in to support with the long-term financial resources that are necessary to absorb these kinds of innovations. But increasingly, to summarize, we're seeing innovations come out of countries like India. We'll see now with Brazil, which has the G20 presidency, the BRICS presidency, and the COP30 presidency. We'll see a lot of work coming out of Brazil. It's really important that there is scaffolding, that philanthropy and other international financial institutions are providing that scaffolding to enable that innovation to flow around the globe at speed and scale. And partners like IPE make that much, much more realistic as a prospect.
When we talk about transferring, let's say, certain innovations that India is doing to the global south, particularly with reference to women and children, I see two bottlenecks. One is the capacity of the country concerned, whether it is the public sector or the private sector. And the second is the fact that we really don't have a platform where we can put these ideas, the exemplars on that platform for others to adopt and help an adopting system. I do agree that governments, philanthropies, private sector, everyone needs to play in. But do you see SIF as a coordinator to transfer these good practices?
So I wouldn't pretend to be the coordinator, but I think certainly SIF is very well positioned in the areas where we have expertise to support countries to absorb best practice faster with the right kind of flexible resourcing. So, for example, we are at the moment looking at the Kenyan model for school meals, and we're looking at, with the African Development Bank, of expanding that across multiple countries and bringing other donors together to do that. So in the areas where we have funded programs and expanded programs, so for example, Manzil, for example, or some of the other programming that affects women and girls in India, where we feel like we have expertise and we know who are the brilliant civil servants in India, for example, who were the people in Rajasthan who were instrumental in making that program work, whether it's at IPE or within the government or within the community. It's really those voices that we need to platform and share. And on the receiving end, what we can do is we can provide support in terms of building capacity within the government. It may be seconding people into the government so that they can develop programs. It might be assisting them in assessing performance. What are the right indicators to assess how things are going? It might be, as I said, convening different financial actors so that they can provide low-cost, long-term financing for those kinds of programs. So I think different philanthropies where they have experience and networks and deep trusted relationships with governments around the world, that's where we can be really, really useful, but always in partnership with community, always in partnership with government, and where possible, really motivating those multilateral institutions to do more, to be more ambitious, to scale more.
Thank you. Thank you. Heartening to hear that. Thank you very much, Kate, for joining us this evening. It's a privilege to have you here. And hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, after the CEO SIF, while we are still on women and children, let me move to the Health Secretary, Mr. Apurva Chandra. Apurva, last 15 years or so, great strides in health in India. India virtually in a leadership position in many of the things where it was nowhere. IMR, MMR, immunization, maternal child health, digital infrastructure, all of that. But do you think we have a plan to share it with the global south? Do you think we are in a position to take that leadership role where whichever country is challenged, we can get to them and deliver these?
Thank you. Actually, India has always voiced the global south, the concerns of global south in the health sector. Right from the time that India has been advocating that the vaccines should be available for all, medicines should be available for all at a cheap cost. And that is the concern of global south which India has been advocating. And this is not just in voice but in deed. A week back I was at the Serum Institute of India in Bharat Biotech, the plants of Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute of India. I was surprised to learn that we make 60% of the vaccines for the world, but the revenue of these two companies is just 10% of the vaccine revenue of the world. That means with 60% of the product, it is just 10% of the revenue. So that means the Indian companies are fulfilling their role, and India is fulfilling the role for the world that we are providing the vaccine, while the revenue is just 10%. Similarly, during the COVID, I think India did in action what we have been proposing, what we have been propounding all through. When we sent vaccines to 150 countries, when the world was closing its borders, and we sent vaccines to 150 countries as a part of our global Maitri, as our part of our mission to support humanity during that time of crisis. Now, as Mr. Kant said in his address regarding the digital public infrastructure, as we know, UPI is the most understood and most widely seen facet of digital public infrastructure. The next phase of that is digital health infrastructure. And that is something like we have offered the digital public infrastructure, that is the next stack which we are going to open to the world. During COVID, 2.2 billion doses of vaccine were administered using the CoWIN app seamlessly throughout the country. How did it happen? Because of this digital public infrastructure which Mr. Kant mentioned, an open source infrastructure, use of private sector, involving all the community and making it available throughout the country with Aadhaar as the backbone. The next step of that, now COVID is over, we are going to move to UWIN, that is for administering all the vaccines, almost 1 crore, that is 10 million children are born in this country every year. And to administer vaccines to them, this will be the modus, using Aadhaar as the backbone and taking that as the basis throughout the country. This is the next step. I think we'll launch it within the next 3 to 4 months. And this again, because it will be based on CoWIN, this is what we will offer to the global south, because for all the countries, whether they are in Africa or anywhere else, I think this will be a very useful proposition, because as we know, vaccine, but to keep track of the vaccine every six weeks, then again 3 months, then after so many vaccines and different sort of vaccines, whether the child has been vaccinated, whether the child it has happened or not, it will be like the CoWIN app. It will, the vaccine certificate will come digitally, the mothers will get a reminder that your child is due for a vaccine, so it will bring a whole lot of change. Similarly, now, again our system of health. In my earlier stints, I spent some time in defense, then petroleum and all, so I was cut off from the developments at the ground level. But in the past month, I tried to make up for that. And I visited some remote parts of the country, Darbhanga in Bihar, Malkangiri in Odisha. I thought it is the remotest of the remote locations in the country. Kopargaon in Maharashtra, which is my state, but of course not that remote, I would say. But then I was always very pleased to see the motivation of our ground level frontline workers like Jasmine today and our Asha Didi from Rajasthan. All our health systems are united by the motivation of these ground level workers. They are volunteers effectively, they are not really government servants, but then their motivation, the way they are working, and that is the backbone of our health system. And apart from that, all our portals, the way they are working, even in a place like Malkangiri, the sub-center, the primary health center, the community health center, the district hospital, the same portals, whether it is Darbhanga, whether it is Kopargaon, whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is Delhi. All our digital health information is available on the same portals. And this is something which we can offer to the Global South, how our systems work, even in remote parts of the country, despite barriers of language, despite barriers of geography, how we are united throughout, and how our health systems are working. So this is something which we can offer to the Global South.
Absolutely. I mean, the great strides in health, nobody can deny. But we heard Mr. Amitav Kant say, talk about demographic dividend in the Global South. I see the demographic dividend as both a challenge and also a positive thing for them. How they will tackle it, I don't know. India has been doing rather well on that. So are we in a position to really tell this story? Because of what is it all about? It's about health and now about intersection of climate and health. So are we in a position to take this story to the remotest part of India first and then to the Global South? And one more side question that I would like you to reflect on, if not answer, is that is health diplomacy going to be the next, what should I say, tool for conversation in international affairs?
Definitely, I think during the G20, under Mr. Amitabh Kant's leadership, the Global Initiative for Digital Health that was launched in July last year, and I think India will take the leadership in that. We would like to take that, the leadership position, and during the World Health Assembly this year, again in May, which is scheduled in May, we'll take a strong position on the Global Initiative on Digital Health. The G20, again, those are views which are being expressed. And as you mentioned, the success stories are what we have to show. If we can do something in the remotest parts of the country, then that is what we have to take to the Global South, that we have achieved this in our country, and this is what we are going to do to the other parts. One more thing which I missed out earlier was that now the Digital Health Mission, which has been launched under the National Health Authority, more than 550 million Aadhaar cards have been created. The use of Aadhaar, so to link, which again has an Aadhaar base, to link all the digital health information, to make it available as a digital health stack, so that whatever is your, and that is the vision of our Prime Minister, that the entire history of your health records should be available at one app, at one location, whichever hospital you have been to, whatever vaccination you have had. So if we give an Aadhaar to a child, newborn child, and from there we start recording the history, so by the entire history, whatever the ailments, whatever the vaccination, the entire record will be available for that child. As the child grows into adolescence and to adulthood, the entire health record will be there, and that is the vision which we have, and that is what we will take to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Apur, and best of luck in whatever you're going to do in the future. So we'll quickly move on to UNICEF. Cynthia, you were closest to me and I was not able to get to ask you a question, so now I'll do that. You know, nutrition is something that has bothered not just India but the entire Global South. I mean, it's a matter of great concern. And India in particular has designed certain very specific schemes as a social protection measure for women in terms of nutrition and well-being. Pradhan Mantri, Matru Vandana Yojana, etc. I mean, we all know of it. Now, these are success stories which we can really carry to the women of the global, not just the Global South, but the rest of the world as well. UNICEF, with its huge presence and penetration among these communities, you think you would be able to be a vehicle to carry these success stories, and carrying is one part, and establish them in those countries?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to tell you the answer. I feel like I should be asking you the question.
But thank you for this, and thank you for IPE. I think I might say three things. One is, I think first and foremost, the partnerships that UNICEF has built. And I think IPE, with this convening and using your convening power, is an illustration of how important partnerships are. Secondly, UNICEF has had the privilege to be partnering with the government of India for 75 years. We're 75 years this year. So that partnership, what we've been learning and sharing with each other, that is a vehicle that we've used. I was inspired by the moon story that we had. UNICEF in the early 1950s with the government of India determined and supported their building the first penicillin production plant. That, if you now look around, has led to producing vaccines as well as medicines, and UNICEF in 2023 purchased $905 million worth of supplies that we took and produced and provided to children around the world. So from that first penicillin plant to today, it is the 14th largest market that UNICEF purchases from to provide for children. So that partnership is key. And so I think building on those partnerships is essential. The other partnership is just sharing this stage with Norway and the United States. These are important member states that we're seeing. IPE has also had these partnerships. But those partnerships have pushed and pulled UNICEF, what we're doing, how we're doing it, how to do it better. Norway in particular helped us years ago with identifying with the government of India sick and small newborn care. And that led to India's designing the SNCUs across the country. So these partnerships become extremely important. SIF is a knowledge partner and has pushed us to really look at the nutrition question, but empowering and enabling women and girls and their families. And when things change, all of you have really helped us to say, you need to be different in this world. With COVID, USAID, Norway came quickly to say, how do we support you, and work quickly and differently to support India. So these types of partnerships. I think the other is building on evidence. So build on partnerships, and secondly, build on evidence of what works. Beti Padao, Beti Pachao, I think you, Ms. Singh, mentioned that. An important framework that India has created. And those universal girl-child cash transfers enables girls and their families to really empower them. And that helps to inform and improve what we're seeing around the world. In Kenya, we have a similar cash transfer that targets the most vulnerable. It looks at the most vulnerable families and enables them through cash to give in order for them to have nutritious food, but also to have access to education and essential health services. So it's building on these fairly simple, but if you capture the lessons and share them, we can take them around the world. One other example, I pushed the team, my team was here, I said, is this still happening? But in Sudan, in the red state of Sudan, there's a mother and child cash transfer program, and it targets the most vulnerable mothers with children under the age of 2. And it has become a lifeline in that humanitarian situation, enabling us to put cash in the hands of mothers in order for them to provide nutrition to their children.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And UNICEF has been a great partner. I, for one, can vouch for that because I've had long years of association. But while on partnerships, which really is the main key, do you see Indian, social development organizations, let's say like the IPE Global, for example, partnering UNICEF to take these success stories and good programs to a remote corner, let's say to sub-Saharan region?
Absolutely. I think one is, I'm sorry Mr. Kant left, but I think that G20, that's not an incredible momentum that we should lose. So that is giving us a momentum to grab hold of that. And that is partnering around the important consensus and ideas that the G20 had. The digital health. That's not just about capturing the technology and the innovation of India, excuse me, but also that is enabling us to pick up on what Mr. Kant said about equity that the G20 was about reaching the hardest to reach. So digital health that we talked about at the G20 enables us to reach the hardest to reach. And that is a partnership. Those are platforms that we discussed that we can build on, first and foremost.
Great, thank you very much. All the best. After this, all that we spoke about transferring this success there, creating a platform in some other country, will not be possible unless Mr. Kumaran does it. So I'll come to him next. Mr. Kumaran, we would like to hear you a little on DPA, which is the main platform. Very good vehicle for taking India's success story, I think, broad. But just two ideas jumping in my mind, so I thought I'll put it across to you while you are talking on the DPA. Do you think we've been successful in assessing the needs very correctly? Meaning, is infrastructure the main need, or is the mechanism to deliver that the main need for them? And just to add to this, infrastructure is great for any country, but is soft skills and capacity building greater?
We actually do all of that. Before I get into what we do, let me try and touch upon some of our motivations to do what we are doing. What drives us essentially as a partner of the Global South, a development partner of the Global South, is that we share some similar historical experiences and a number of challenges with the Global South, and therefore feel a certain level of solidarity with the Global South. That essentially is what drives our motivation. We do a number of things that promote the achievement of shared objectives. Basically, we push for inclusivity in global governance systems, to reform them, to make them more responsive. We, as you know, enabled the inclusion of the African Union as a permanent member of G20. It's always very difficult to tee off after Amitabh Kant sir. It's a huge challenge. But the fact that he's not there makes it a little easier for me now. To build issue-based coalitions at international fora to preserve policy space for our development agenda, that of India and for the Global South. Pushing for reform of the global financial architecture. We heard about equity. Amitabh Kant sir spoke, you also spoke. To push for fair, balanced and equitable terms of trade and investment. Push for fair and equitable sharing of the burdens of climate action, taking into account the principles of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. To also develop physical, digital and human infrastructure in Global South countries to enable them to compete better in the global economy and become key nodes in global value chains. Help with capacity building in key areas of the Global South so that it can stand up for itself and defend its rights in global fora. Enhancing the resilience of economies, societies, healthcare systems, education systems and infrastructure in Global South countries. And sharing insights from our own development experience with Global South to help them effectively address similar problems. So now let me come back to what we do in the Global South in terms of projects that DPA does. Let me start by underlining that our approach to development partnerships is essentially human-centric and demand-driven. We don't decide what is to be done in that country. We go by project proposals that come from the recipient country or the beneficiary country, and then go about building a project proposal in great detail and find ways to get it done. Our projects are also closely aligned with the interests and priorities, therefore. The overall effort is to try and respond to the aspirations of the partner country, ensure the longevity of the assets created, and focus on sustainability in addition to all this. Therefore, our project portfolio, in addition to infrastructure, which includes roads and bridges, railways, ports and related infrastructure, inland waterways, upgrading border infrastructure, setting up power stations, expanding transmission line networks, also includes agriculture and irrigation systems, ICT infrastructure, supply of equipment, etc. We've clearly done a number of projects in areas of healthcare, education, community development, sustainable livelihoods, capacity building and skills development, and therefore contributing to greater economic and cultural connectivity. We have new sectors such as telecommunication, digital public infrastructure, defense and solar systems to add to our portfolio. Overall, we have about 32 billion worth of projects in about 68 countries, covering 600 projects, out of which about $14 billion are focused on our neighborhood and $13 billion are focused on Africa. In addition, we also do projects with grants outright, not lines of credit, worth about $4 billion. In addition to all the infrastructure areas that I pointed out, let me just quickly come to ITEC, the India Technical and Economic Cooperation Program, which is the foundation stone of our capacity building program for Global South partners. This was established as far back as 1964, continues to be among the oldest and the largest mechanisms for capacity building, especially focused on the Global South. We have trained over the years some 225,000 people, officials from 160 countries, through more than 2,500 courses in 120 world-class institutions selected carefully from within India, in both civilian and defense sectors. We also, during COVID, continue to keep the good work done by ITEC by shifting to virtual mode and calling it e-ITEC, especially in some areas where this was possible. We also build vocational training centers in a number of countries for hardware-related trades. We also couple them with basic entrepreneurial skills so that people who benefit from our courses can go ahead and set up their own enterprises. One of our biggest success stories is skill development in the area of IT and also other kinds of certificate and degree courses in computer science. A total of 23 centers of excellence in IT have been set up in partner countries. About half of them are in Africa. We also have very enthusiastic efforts now ongoing to try and spread the use of India Stack DPI in a number of countries. We have signed about 12 MOUs with various countries, and we are already working on pilot projects where we will use small numbers. You know, in a country of a few million, we would probably work on 5,000 or 10,000 initial number of people to try and set up the infrastructure, make sure it works, and then expand it and scale up to the entire population. We also work for other programs like the International Solar Alliance, Global Biofuels Alliance, to try and help developing countries become partners, expand the use of these kinds of technologies and products. And we also have developed a global DPI depository, which will be based at MOSIP in the International Institute of Information Technology in Bangalore, to try and help us promote India Stack DPI in the Global South. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely, fully agree with you, Kumaran, and India has been doing great work in this. I was aware of the capacity building efforts that MEA makes, but I deliberately asked that question so that it comes from you, because there are doubts that we are into brick and mortar only. So having seen all this and the great work that you're doing, you think it's time for an institutional mechanism to create a platform which will include not just the government, not just the international organizations, but the Indian development sector organizations as well?
Yes, I fully agree with you on that. It is time to try and expand our capacity building programs to the maximum extent we can. Our efforts are currently already underway to try and bring in more civilian institutes from the private sector. We would also welcome other kinds of development partners to try and work with us to expand the scope of our activities and the reach of our activities in various countries. So I'm fully with you on that. Would love to take the conversation forward. Let's meet and see what we can do together.
Thank you. Love to do that. Thank you so much for your views. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have Martin. Martin, the question that I wanted to ask you, I'll actually reserve it for a little later, but first and foremost, you know, some of the best known challenges are universal. I mean, it's just about, it's about leveraging everybody's capacity to come together and actually deliver. Norway has been among the topmost committed countries in terms of ODA and doing a phenomenal work. And also, I'm told, involved in some of the South-South issues that have been there. So how do you see Norway supporting Indian efforts and its role as a lighthouse for the rest of the region in South-South?
Thank you so much, CK Mishra. And first, just let me congratulate Ashwajit, Tanya, IPE Global, the whole team with your 25th anniversary. Norway is so happy to be here today and to celebrate together with you. And yes, like you say, CK, Norway has committed to set aside 1% of our gross national income every year to ODA. And that's something that there is full support across the political spectrum in Norway to do, and full support among the population to do. So that's something that we will continue doing. Concretely in India, I think that you know, we do this obviously to reach the SDGs, to make sure that no one is left behind. And I think that in India we are seeing that you have really discovered some of the ways to achieve those goals, to leave no one behind. And in particular, what Amitabh Kant, the G20 Sherpa, and also you, Secretary, talked about in terms of digital transformation. I think that's really one way that India has transformed, and really one way that India has shown how a country can leapfrog in terms of, you know, providing a digital identity to people so that people can receive social services, so that people can become financially included. And all this based on the Aadhaar system. And I think that's one place, one concrete example where Norway is supporting India in the South-South collaboration, where we have supported the MOSIP, which is a Bangalore-developed system for open source identification. And this is based on the Aadhaar. And today this is providing digital IDs to more than how many million people? 97 million people across the world in 15 countries. So that's really one concrete example where Norway, through a partnership with India, is helping in the South-South collaboration.
Great, thank you very much for that. And now, for a minute, my favorite, NIPI.
Yes.
Norway-India Partnership Initiative has been, I would say, a class apart. Class apart because it's one of the most successful partnership between two countries in the field of health. It may not have been that big, but it certainly has been extremely effective in the states where it has worked. And I have seen it since 2009, I think, or 10. But it's emerged as a very good model. You think we can take this model to other countries?
I fully agree. It's an excellent model. It's a unique and transformative health partnership that Norway and India has established together. I think it's more than 16 years old. It's a long-term partnership. I have myself been to see it in Alwar, where it all started in Rajasthan. Met with some of the Ashas. We met some of them here today, and really, you know, fantastic to see how the community health services is providing healthcare close to people where they live. They go into the houses and help people, and it has achieved tremendous results. I think that it's definitely a model that could be reproduced through a South-South lens. I think the fact that it is anchored at the very highest political level, that it's a bilateral partnership, long-term, and also that it is working through the national health mission, that it is working in line with the priorities of India. Those are some of the key aspects that have made this project this program so successful. Yeah.
No, that's a great effort, and we look forward to this effort and many more similar efforts coming in future. Thank you very much, Marit. So, thank you very much to everyone in the panel. What a fantastic panel we had tonight. Put your hands together for them. I'm sure many of us, certainly me, will go back wiser. Thank you very much for your time on being here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. C.K. Mishra, and all the participants of the panel. I've just received news that the moon has not been sighted on the horizon today. And why not? Because all the stars are here. Whether they be the courageous voices of the field, the resilient faces on the canvas here or in the books that we see, the determined policymakers that we saw on stage, the committed partners that we see around, or we see the passionate practitioners of development who want to make it a reality. No doubt this room is the place where history can be made. Arthur Clarke said, "Moon is the first milestone on the road to the stars." And let today's 25th anniversary be just a milestone in our journey of IPE's development's growth and aspirations for development. To take this program further and to offer the vote of thanks, let me invite my colleague from the Ethiopia office, the country head of Ethiopia of IPE Global Group, Deborah Kefale. Deborah, could I request you?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm greetings from IPE Global's Addis Ababa office. Allow me to thank you once again for joining us tonight as we celebrate our 25th year anniversary. The panel before me discussed the importance of South-South cooperation, and we've also witnessed how remarkable women in India continue to carry the torch and serve as an inspiration despite challenging circumstances. I will not attempt to summarize the rich discussions, but allow me to quickly add a few points. IPE Global has indeed been instrumental in expanding South-South cooperation, and in Ethiopia alone, IPE has implemented 40 projects in the last 10 years, impacting many lives. As our chair mentioned in his opening remarks, India and Africa share many common challenges, such as poverty, gender inequalities, early marriage, the list goes on. These challenges cannot be addressed in isolation, and there really is no better example to learn from than India for Ethiopia and many other African countries. And through IPE, we have been able to leverage collective strengths and resources to implement and enhance local capacities, implement projects, and facilitate knowledge exchange. And we also have more opportunities to going forward as well for us to address these challenges, share best practices and innovative approaches, and elevate the voices from the global south. As we bring this evening to a close, let us all be very proud of the profound impact of our collective efforts in making development a ground reality. Each project, each partnership has touched lives. It has transformed communities and laid the groundwork for a brighter future. But the journey is far from over. We will continue to face new challenges, but we must also seize new opportunities and keep writing the next chapter of our success story. And finally, it is a distinct honor for me to convey our thanks and gratitude to all those who have contributed to IPE's extraordinary journey of growth and success. Allow me to thank you again, esteemed guests, dignitaries, for gracing us with your presence tonight. We are immensely grateful to the very talented employees of IPE all over the world, both past and present, who have been the driving force of our success. Our dear partners, representatives of governments, private sector, donors, clients, we are truly humbled by your trust and confidence in our services, and we remain committed to exceeding your expectations in the years to come. And finally, a huge thank you to our very own communications team for meticulously planning and executing this wonderful event. Amasag Ganalo, I thank you. But before concluding today's event, we have a very short performance by one of our colleagues. It's a beautiful song to convey the spirit of IPE and its mission. I will not attempt to, to read the Hindi version, but it does say, abandon your limits, come and let's live. Please welcome our colleague from Delhi, Samadhi.
Thank you so much, Deborah. That was a beautiful vote of thanks. Music.
कहता ये पल खुद से निकल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल गम मुसाफिर था जाने दे धूप आंगन में आने दे जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल तलवों के नीचे है ठंडी सी एक धरती कहती है आजा दौड़ेंगे यादों के बक्सों में जिंदा सी खुशबू है कहती है सब पीछे छोड़ेंगे उंगलियों से कल की रेत बहने दे आज और अभी में खुद को रहने दे कहता ये पल खुद से निकल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल एक टुकड़ा हंसी चख ले जिंदगी की कड़ी रख ले जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल हिचकी रुक जाने दे सिसकी थम जाने दे इस पल की ये गुजारिश है मरना क्यों जी लेना बूंदों को पी लेना जीने की इसमें ख्वाहिश है पानियों को रास्ते तू बनाने दे रोशनी को खुद के पीछे आने दे कहता ये पल खुद से निकल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल ओम त्र्यंबकम यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमेव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता उर्वारुकमेव बन्धना मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृता कहता ये पल खुद से निकल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल जीते हैं चल. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samriddhi, and thank you to everyone. Thank you so much for being here, making and gracing this evening and making it a wonderful memory. Please join us for dinner outside.
Create a world of possibilities where everyone has a voice, has a story to tell, has a sense of belonging, learns to share. We are driven by a purpose. While we celebrate yesterday, we are committed to transforming lives on the ground with our partners, our communities. Set out to move in the right direction, our visionaries leading the way. Nurturing a global family across continents with Indian roots by connecting information, technology and places. We implement sustainable solutions, a journey of over 2 decades. We are a community of learners, focused on empowering people, helping each other unlock potential. Humanity guides our every step, genuine care in every project, striving quietly, reaching further, touching the lives of 600 million people, serving over 1,000 projects in more than 100 countries. For in the heart of our endeavors lies a simple truth. Without humanity, progress is empty. With a passion to make a difference, we never shy to try. Driven by our core values of integrity, innovation, passion, perseverance and learning, we move forward with hope and determination to build a better world. Learning with our partners, embracing collaboration, striving for a better future, giving back to the society. Let's come together. Exploring possibilities while expanding horizons, enriching lives.
Experience and insights are the building blocks of Center for Knowledge and Development. The fundamental ethos of diversity, equity and inclusion are imbibed in all that we do for women, girls and children across the areas of health, nutrition, education, skills and livelihoods. At CKD, we recognize that only through greater representation of voices, viewpoints and solutions will we create a world where women and girls build their agency and unlock their full potential. Our flagship project Jigyasa, Knowledge for Life, leverages digital technology to build the skills of teachers and teacher educators. The aspect of sustainability is embedded by ownership of the state governments.
जो चीज आप बताना चाहते हो वो चीज आप डिजिटल फॉर्म में कैसे तैयार करें, इसके लिए जिज्ञासा के माध्यम से टीचर्स को ट्रेन किया। कोविड काल में विद्यार्थियों के साथ जुड़ने में बहुत अच्छी तरह से सहायता मिली।
कोविड-19 के दौरान मुझे जिज्ञासा प्रोजेक्ट के तहत मुझे स्कॉलरशिप मिली, जिससे मैंने अपने लिए एक लैपटॉप खरीद लिया और अपने हर एक सपने को पूरा करने की प्रेरणा मिली।
During the recent COVID-19 pandemic, CKD has trained healthcare professionals on COVID care and management and built confidence in vaccination amongst the most vulnerable and resistant population. Translating effective research into action, CKD has addressed maternal, child and adolescent health concerns. Suposhit Jharkhand is our initiative to close the gap in nutrition amongst tribal women, girls and children.
यहाँ पर अवेयरनेस जो है ट्राइबल लोगों के बीच में बहुत ही कम है, हार्ड टू रीच एरिया है। इस स्थिति में काम करना बहुत ही चैलेंजिंग है।
With more than 40% of our staff representing local ethnic tribes, our program is truly representative and responsive to the local needs. Driven by a growth mindset, we believe in empowering girls with skills to explore income generation opportunities aligned with their aspirations.
मेरे पापा भी पुलिस वाले हैं, इसलिए मेरा भी सपना यही है कि मैं अपने पापा के कदमों को छू सकूं और जिससे मैं अपने लड़काओं में भेदभाव को मिटा सकूं। गांव समाज में ये दिखाना चाहती हूँ जो चीज़ें जो लड़का करके दिखा रहा है वो लड़की भी कर सकती है।
Capturing the journey of 75 women entrepreneurs awarded by Niti Aayog has reiterated our faith in the ability of women to lead change even in the most challenging situations. Center for Knowledge and Development is working to inspire breakthroughs by stimulating creativity to think beyond the obvious. We are challenging regressive social norms. Our belief and ideology is in co-creating solutions with like-minded partners and communities to achieve sustainable transformation in the lives of women and girls.
Partnerships to build a resilient health system for India.
Unlocking greater capital through partnerships and strengthening health systems leading to results on the ground.
Driving a sustainable model to catalyze market solutions for healthcare.
Scaling and high impact are the hallmarks of this unique program.
Making quality and affordable healthcare accessible to everyone in the country. There have been consistent efforts at making the Indian health systems both resilient as well as strong. There are, of course, inherent weaknesses in the system which still exist. 2017 Health Policy of India declared that we would ideally be spending 2.5% of the GDP on health. The government spend is limited to 1.3%. Private spend is also not very high.
Companies in this sector find it very difficult to raise funding, and the primary reason is that it is capital intensive and requiring long gestation periods.
Many a time, startup businesses and innovators are not able to attract commercial grade investments. So this could be due to perception on the healthcare sector being risky with uncertain returns.
In March 2020, COVID-19 was looming as a global threat and community transmission in India was accelerating. Working with IPE Global, we recognized the need to be creative and harness the incredible ingenuity of India's private sector, the commitment of Indian government institutions, academic research, and the resources of the finance sector. USAID brought our rich experience with innovative financing in India to this collaboration to develop Samridh, a facility which combines public and philanthropic funds with commercial capital to scale proven market-based health solutions. These solutions reach the most vulnerable populations. The dedication and commitment of our partners has led to practical solutions such as hand-crank defibrillators, new cold chain technology, using drones to bring healthcare to inaccessible communities, and many more.
At Samridh, we think that blended finance is a game changer. Our team works closely with healthcare facilities to understand their needs and helps them structure finance. So we really give them a combination of debt, equity, as well as philanthropic grant capital. The idea is to really give them concessional capital and to try and mitigate their risk through grant capital, through philanthropic organizations. And once the risk has been mitigated, then the commercial entities come in and are happy to fund those projects. We've been able to raise a lot of philanthropic capital through players like USAID, through Rockefeller, and raise debt capital through Axis Bank, IndusInd Bank, Caspian, and a number of other players.
The commercial banks need someone to support their risk. The development finance institutions or the philanthropic agencies come here with a view to get better leverage and higher impact. And the borrower comes here to get access to cheap funds. So the coming together of these diverse players in a collaborative fashion actually becomes a very win-win sort of a platform and very unique in India.
Samridh helps us identify innovations, mobilize capital, provide technical advisory in particular to help take these innovations forward.
Through Samridh, we have already forged over 100 partnerships with an initial grant investment of $12 million to 30 plus entities. We have been able to leverage in excess of $100 million.
It has managed to reach 1,000 plus healthcare facilities, 17,000 plus medical staff, community health workers and nurses, and impacted 25 million people. What Samridh is bringing into play is filling in the gap which resulted in denial of access.
India has become a land of infinite possibilities. The country has shown remarkable progress towards reduction of maternal, newborn and child deaths. Based on the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, a world is one family, Government of India puts immense value on collaborations between countries that build on transparency, openness and mutual trust. One such bilateral health initiative, established in 2006 between Government of India and Norway, is the Norway-India Partnership Initiative. Often referred to as one of the best models of development cooperation, NIPI's vision is to provide strategic, catalytic and innovative support to India's national health mission and state health societies.
In going forward with our partnership in health, we see an enormous value in the NIPI platform, the momentum and the trust established with both central and state governments of India.
This initiative is impacting 14 million women and 61 million children in the high-focus states of Bihar, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. NIPI model works by identifying a priority health problem, co-creating a matching solution using human-centered design approach, and then pilot testing the innovative idea for a defined period. The demonstration of the potential solution
is supplemented by independent evaluation and the scaled up if found useful by the states and Government of India. The shared platform between India and Norway has resulted in implementation of evidence-based, frugal, scalable and sustainable maternal, newborn and child health innovations to scale in India. NIPI Impact in its working has resulted in 14 of 15 innovations scaled up across India. For instance, one of the NIPI innovation, home-based care for young child, scaled up from 13 to more than 600 districts of India. Recent innovations of NIPI, such as virtual reality training packages, decision support system for CHOs, geospatial mapping of health services and screening of cervical cancer are also yielding promising results. A financial analysis has revealed that for every Norwegian krona spent by NIPI, Government of India has invested 26 times for scale-up of the same innovation. What makes NIPI a model of development cooperation? Due to its flexibility in accepting risks, learning from failures, the textbook model of development cooperation between India and Norway can work as a blueprint for global replication. Government of India and Norway now need to take this successful model forward to other states and countries, leverage digital technologies and continue provide innovative approaches for attainment of sustainable development goals.
What if we could create a world of possibilities where everyone has a voice, has a story to tell, has a sense of belonging, learns to share? We are driven by a purpose. While we celebrate yesterday, we are committed to transforming lives on the ground with our partners, our communities.